The main two questions I get, I sell pools to busy professionals. I do. And I understand that. It's why my availability is wide open. I talk to my customers evenings, I talk to them weekends. I realize the challenges that you have just to get on the phone to try and discuss the pool. So oftentimes people feel hurried with that portion of the investigation for the contractor that they want to work with. And so what I'll get a lot of times on the phone is, how much does this cost and how long is it going to take? So I have to kind of gently take the customer through those ideas and help them make a good decision for their family without keeping them on the phone too long with a bunch of information that they don't want to know. So customers will ask that, and what we found is waiting generally is much more expensive to wait than it is to go ahead with the pool now. So I'll give you an example. The amount that pools go up year to year, once you hit that January mark, all the vendors come back and they increase their prices. Florida is a market that is, people pour into the state daily, and fewer people leave the state than come into the state. So since we have that dynamic in Florida, it drives price. Since COVID, we've seen pools go way up as people poured into the state, bought new houses. We saw that across the board. We saw it through real estate and everything else. So the reality of that is, when you get a customer on the phone that says, hey, I think I'm going to wait and see how things go. Pools will probably come down next year. I've been in the business for about 12 years and I've never seen pools come down. I've seen them go up year over year. And that increase in price generally is attached to, here in Florida, the amount of people coming in. And then additionally, customers are trying to get many times a secured or unsecured loan, forgive me. They're trying to get an unsecured loan on an object that can't be repossessed. So it's basically a signature loan on something. So it's going to carry a higher interest rate by default. And then the average customer, since it's such a high ticket item, the average customer would prefer that the amortization is as long as possible. So we do have lenders that will go as long as 30 years. 30-year amortization, possibly a higher interest rate because it's not secured. So what we're seeing generally right now in the third quarter here of 2025 is interest rates are between 8 and 10 for most of your very well qualified customers, with a 30-year term possible. We do have in-house assisted financing. Most pool companies don't. We have in-house assisted financing, and those rates can be as low as 2.99, which is kind of unheard of. Now, those types of loans do involve upfront fees. So if you said, hey, my particular situation, that makes sense for me to put some of this money down to buy down a rate, that's a possibility. And we have a lender that'll do that. So exploring the financing portion of it, if the customer takes a minute with me on the phone and they're honest and say, hey, we're looking for financing, can you help with that? We have at least 4 lenders that we can refer you to, and they're almost very specific to the customer and your situation. So if you are, you'll take a moment and you'll be honest enough with me to describe the situation, I can often point you in the right direction to where you'll get the best deal for your family. What does the time frame for swimming pools look like? Construction for a swimming pool, generally you're going to have that initial design portion. I can get a design completed in 1 to 3 days for a customer, oftentimes 1. You have the design in your hand, you tell me what you would want to change. If you get through that, most customers can get through that in probably 3 or 4 revisions, and they have exactly what they want. I would price it the same day. We have a price, we're both in agreement. I come to the house, I do a site visit. I'm looking for, is the yard flat? How will we get into the property? Where will we place the equipment? And do you have the capacity and the current electrical service for the equipment that we're going to need to pull off of there? So those 4 things are discerned at the site meeting. After the site meeting, we would then go over to the office and we would get you signed up. The sign-up process involves going through the paperwork very carefully so you understand all aspects, exactly what you're getting. There's no confusion. The customer has a very specific understanding of what will happen moving forward. Once we have that there, I'm going to work on the in-house portions. The in-house portions would entail CAD drawings. So we'll do working drawings for all the different facets of the pool construction, and then we'll move on to the engineering. And the engineering will be completed for that specific pool and how it's designed, which is also important that we get the design correct the first time. That final design that you've settled on, we're all in agreement. It goes to engineering, and the engineering is specific to that design. So that's why it's so important. From there, our in-house permit team would send it over to your municipality. Municipalities are the big X variable. They vary widely. You can have an over-the-counter permit all the way up to 60 plus days for your permitting. If you start involving septic then it has to go to environmental. That can add additional time onto it. So if you're on city water and sewer, it will be the shortest possible time depending on your municipality. Once we have the permit back, we go to dig immediately. We put you on the dig schedule. That usually happens within 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how many permits we pulled at that exact snapshot in time. But we own all of our own equipment, so there's not a delay with us going to another company and going, hey, can you dig this pool for us? So what I'll hear a lot of times from customers is, now this other company said they're 6 months to a year out before they can dig our pool. And what we see is that's companies that can't afford the capital expenditures to have their own equipment. But we do have our own equipment, so we go to dig very quickly. The dig process, once we have the blade in the ground, generally at this time of year, it's 8 to 10 weeks or less to complete the project. So it can be completed very quickly at this time of year, and that's specific to the quarter. So if you are a second quarter buyer and you purchase your pool in the second quarter, that oftentimes is our busiest part of the season. Once we have the pool completed, going back to what we talked about before with muriatic acid, we don't wash the pool with muriatic acid. If you did wash the pool with muriatic acid, best practices, which may or may not be shared with you by another company, is that you shouldn't swim in the pool for 30 days. If muriatic acid was used, acid for us to wash the interior of the pool, we're able to get you swimming within 24 hours. So the very worst thing would be to get to the end and they've used muriatic acid and you're waiting another 30 days to swim in your brand new pool. So it's important, it matters. Okay, so choosing your contractor. If you are the type of person that purchases a pool, which is generally a busy professional, busy mom, you don't have a whole lot of time to pull this off, and it may have been on your mind to do it. You just found a little bit of time to do your research. You're going to want to look at Yelp. You're going to want to look at Google. You're going to want to look up pool contractors in the Jacksonville area. Once you've found pool contractors in the Jacksonville area and you see that they have good reputations, dig a little deeper. It's not unheard of for a contractor to do people wrong and then change their name, to get involved in a lawsuit, change their name, come back as another pool builder. So it's important to dig just a little bit deeper. I try never to disparage other companies. I just encourage the customer to dig a little deeper sometimes and make sure that they're making good choices with who they're potentially interviewing. Once you've discerned that, then you're going to have a phone call with the company and see if it's a good fit. The last thing you want to do is get involved in a lifetime warranty situation with somebody that you really don't like. So make sure that on that phone call, you really like the person. You find that they have a great reputation. You've dug deeper and you know that there's no legal issues with the company. Maybe they've been in business longer. That's important. I'm Jason with Oak Wells Aquatics, and we build the better pool. And that's not just lip service. If you give me a chance, I'll prove it to you.